Okay, so now we're up to division, and a lot of this stuff you should already know because we've done it when we were converting fractions to decimals. So I'll start off with some of the questions from the textbook. So we have question 1A on page 232. So as we know, we put the 3.6 into the division sign, and we put the divisor outside number 6. And we make sure we always put the decimal on top, directly on top of the one inside the division sign. So first question we ask is, how many times does 6 go into 3? It doesn't, so we put a 0 there. And then we ignore this decimal and we ask, how many times does 6 go into 36? And we know that that would be 6. So your final answer will be 0.6. Question 1E, over here, we do the same thing. 8.05 in the division sign, we put the 5 outside, and we make sure we put the decimal point directly above the decimal point inside the division sign. So now we ask, how many times does 5 go into 8? And we know that 5 goes into 8 at least once. And then we have a remainder of 3, which we put on top of the next place value, which is 0. And now we ask, how many times does 5 go into 30? And we know that that would be 6 times. And 5 divided by 1 is 1. So your final answer would be 1.61. Okay, so now we're going to try some bigger numbers. So we just follow basically the same procedure. So we put the number that is being divided into the division sign and the divisor outside, making sure again that we put the decimal point directly above the decimal point inside the division sign. So now we go ahead and ask, how many times does 3 go into 2? It doesn't, so we put a 0 there. Now we ask, how many times does 3 go into 20? It goes into 20 at least 6 times. 3 times 6 is 18. So 3 goes into 20 6 times. 20 minus 18 is 2. So the remainder of 2 goes up on top next to the next place value. Now we're asking, how many times does 3 go into 25? And we should know that 3 goes into 25 at least 8 times, because 3 times 8 is 24. 25 minus 24 is 1. So we put the remainder next to the next place value. Now we're asking, how many times does 3 go into 17? So we know that 3 goes into 17 at least 5 times. 3 times 5 is 15. So 17 minus 15 is 2. So we have a remainder of 2. And now we are asking, how many times does 3 go into 28? And we should know that 3 times 9 is 27. So 3 goes into 28 at least 9 times. 28 minus 27 is 1. So we put the remainder next to the next place value. And now we're asking, how many times does 3 go into 12? And we know the answer to that is 4. So our final answer is 0.6.8594. Okay, so moving on to the next one. Again, we just basically follow the same procedure. So we're asking, how many times does 11 go into 2? It doesn't, so we put a 0 on top of that one. Now we're asking, how many times does 11 go into 24? 11 times 2 is 22, so 11 goes into 24 at least 2 times. 24 minus 22 is 2, so we put the remainder next to the next place value. And now we're asking how many times does 11 go into 25? Again, 2 times. Oops, I forgot to put the decimal there. So 11 goes into 25 2 times. There's a remainder of 3, so we put the remainder next to the next place value. Now we're asking how many times does 11 go into 34? 11 times 3 is 33. 34 minus 33 is 1. So the remainder goes next to the next place value. And yes, you would have noticed I did forget to put the number 3 on top of the 34. Okay, and now we're asking how many times does 11 go into 11? That's an easy one. We know that the answer to that is 1. So our final answer is 2.231.